just let it go. Maybe that's something that you need to tell yourself a little bit, because it's something that I've been reminding myself of lately.
This is Truth Pop. This is Truth Pop with Jake and Cathy.
I'm Jake.
I'm Cathy.
And this is Truth Pop, giving you a Catholic take on faith and culture, helping you to live out your faith in modern day society.
Today we want to talk about how to help you better live in the moment in your day-to-day life.
I was thinking recently, babe, how, so often I spend so much of my time focused on my past sins, even sins that I've gone to confession for.
Oh, yeah.
When I was sitting in adoration recently, I felt like God was just very gently telling me that I'm focusing so much on things that I used to struggle with, still kind of thinking that, I'm going to randomly fall into that sin within the next half hour, kind of having that fear that I might still struggle with it. But in a way, that's the devil keeping me focused on the past. The devil's kind of blinding me to things that I'm struggling with now that I actually need to focus on. And I felt like God was just saying to me in my heart, like, hey, these things are in the past. Like, you are forgiven. You can move on. You don't have to hold on to them. But here's where you can grow now. And here's something that you actually can focus on. And here's grace that I'm giving you so that you can better work on it. And it's just interesting how I think God can really speak to us in those moments and just let us know, hey, you're carrying that burden from the past and you don't need to hold on to it. Really, I think it comes down to just embracing what's known as Catholic mindfulness, just learning to live in the moment, not in the past, not in the future, but just accepting things the way that they are right now. But again, I just want to let you know that if you have confessed something in your past and you feel like you're still getting poked at it and you're still just having haunting nightmares about that regret, that's from the devil. And you can trust that you are forgiven and you can move on and just be open to where God is leading you right now, because he's leading you to amazing things.
Yeah, and it's so hard to live in the moment. We're reminded by the past. We like to focus so much on the past. I know I do sometimes. Or, we're distracted by the future. We're worried about what's to come. We're worried about what's going to happen in, the next 5-10 years, or even, in the next few moments. That's something I struggle with. I don't live super far into the future, but I live maybe a few minutes or a few moments into the future, anticipating what's to come. I'm not able to just truly enter into the present moment, and being mindful does really help me with that. Have you ever read The Mindful Catholic by Dr. Gregory Bottaro?
I have. That's a really good book.
Yeah, it really helps me engage in the present moment, being aware of all the senses, being aware of your body and your thoughts. And it's really important to not put so much judgment on thoughts, just kind of see them as more like mental objects.
Yeah.
Kind of like he describes it as like having clouds pass through the sky, kind of seeing your thoughts just as they are, not labeling them as good or bad, but just being aware of them. And that can really help you explore that curiosity of the present moment.
And I think, babe, that in those scenarios where a past sin or some element of shame or regret starts to creep into your mind, I think I like what you said there. Like, you don't necessarily need to repress it or just try to pretend that it's not there, because it's there, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that the past is the past. Yeah. We need to accept it. But yeah, maybe just even seeing things that we don't like about our past, seeing that as an element of grace. Like that, okay, it is what it is. I've moved on. I've grown. It's different now.
Yeah.
And the person that we are now is shaped by the decisions that we've made in our past. And God can even use those bad things in our past for our good. And I don't even think we realize all of the blessings, all of the good things that might have come out of our broken past.
Yeah. And sometimes when bad things happen, God can make something even better out of that. Like with the fall of humanity, that was a horrible thing that happened, but we received a savior from that. We had Jesus redeem the world. And so we can look at our lives like that too. Like if something bad happened to us, or if we did something bad, we can allow Jesus to come and redeem that, and greater good can come from that as well. And it's interesting that you said, like, yeah, the past is the past and that's unchanging. The future also is another thing that the devil likes to distract us with, because the future is not real. And so the only thing that's truly real is the present moment. Father Simon, the priest that married us, he always would say, the present is where time and eternity meet. It's where God truly is present. And so that's why we need to truly be present.
And I think that's why saints became saints, because they were so focused on, okay, where's the holiness of this moment right now? Like, what's God calling me to do right now? And they weren't so much always in their heads thinking about, like, oh, I should have done that 2 days ago. Like, if they brought it to confession, they trusted that the Lord has already forgiven them. And they didn't miss out on those opportunities right here and right now to serve that neighbor, to maybe even smile at that loved one who needs encouragement, to a family member, whoever it is and whatever it is. There's holiness in that moment. And I think when we're stuck in the past and when we're living in the future, we're almost blinded to what God can do right now and the grace that he's giving us.
Yeah, that grace that God gives us in the present moment, that's so important.
Yeah, like St. Faustina wrote that in her diary. I believe she said that, God's always giving us grace every moment, and whether or not we receive it is up to us. But what's really important to recognize is that St. Faustina said that grace is specific to each moment. So the grace that God can give you right now in this moment, he may not give to you tomorrow, right? So it's important that we're always just open. Just like, you could say Mary, her heart was always open to Jesus. And she was receiving him every single moment of every single day, regardless of how she felt, regardless of her mood. It was always just that outpouring of grace that her heart was open to. And that's what gave her the ability to always say yes to every moment and to be open to what other people needed.
Yeah, like with the Annunciation and with the wedding feast at Cana, she was always able to just say yes in the moment and respond to God's grace and do his will perfectly.
So maybe it's just an invitation for you right now. If you feel bogged down by your past or maybe worried about the future, a helpful prayer for me that I try to do as often as possible is the Litany of Trust. And one of the reasons I really like this prayer so much, and you can find this online if you do a Google search, but there's three specific lines in the Litany of Trust that really deal with this whole idea of living in the moment. And one of the lines goes like, deliver me, Jesus, from excessive preoccupation with the past or past regrets. Deliver me, Jesus, from fear of the future. Deliver me, Jesus, from restless self-seeking in the present moment. So always just lifting our eyes towards heaven and saying, God, what are you showing me? How are you sharing this love with me right now? That way we can share it with other people and we don't have to miss out.
One of my favorite lines from the prayer is that not knowing what tomorrow brings is an invitation to lean on you. Like, that honestly scares me a little bit, because I'm like, wow, I want to know what tomorrow brings. Like, what if there's anxiety? What if there's worries? What if there's bad things? But it's an invitation to lean on Jesus. And that's really what holiness consists of. What you were saying before, Jake, that holiness is surrender. It's surrender to God's will in the present moment. You know who actually helps me with living in the moment better?
Who's that?
You wouldn't expect this, but it's our dog, Chloe.
Oh, yeah.
She is just so...
The truth pup.
Yeah, the truth pup. She's so good at living in the moment. Like, she always just kind of goes along with what we do. Like, she's not worried about what's to come, and she doesn't focus on the past. Like, she's always like in tune with like, okay, what are we doing right now?
And even if it's like, the middle of the night, 3 a.m. the other night, she just started crying because she wanted to find her little pig toy. But that was what was on her mind. And as soon as she found pigs, she moved on and she was happy. So, I mean, you're right. She's just like living in the moment, and she's not always concerned about what just happened or what's about to happen. And I never thought I could say this, but I guess, yeah, we can learn from our dog.
Yeah. And like, she's always like smelling and curious about every little thing. And I think sometimes we are called to have that like childlike wonder. Like, I think children are just a really great example of what it means to live in the moment, like with play. Like they're able to explore their environment, imagine. And I think we can learn from them, because
So
that's
true.
that's a beautiful gift that they have, to have that curiosity and that wonder. And I think as adults, we kind of lose that a little bit because of all the stress and the worries of life. And we get into these bad habits of worrying and stress.
It's just all the demands that we put on ourselves. So true. Yeah. Know that Cathy and I are always here to pray for you too. If something's stirring on your heart or you're struggling with some kind of anxiety, you don't have to carry that alone. So you can always reach out to us through email with your prayer intention. It's truthpopproductions@gmail.com. We're walking with you on this journey. Just excited that you're here. Please subscribe to Truth Pop if you haven't already. That way you can get your weekly downloads straight to your phone or wherever you listen. Please do listen, and please do share Truth Pop with a loved one.
This is Truth Pop.